Okay. Good Erev Shabbos. Good post Thanksgiving. If you're driving today and parking, this is the busiest ticket day of the year. People mistakenly think that there's a holiday. So if you're unfortunate to live in Brooklyn, go ahead and careful where you park on this day. Today's Gemara is ostensibly one of the, if not the most famous Gemara, certainly it's up there in the top 5 in Baba Kama. We've been discussing different mazikim. We discussed Shane. We discussed Regel. We touched upon Keren. We're going to do that much more. Bar, we haven't touched at all. But Hever was Eish. Hever was Eish. And no one disagreed. Even though Shar, there was Machloikis, according to Rav, it was all 3. According to Shmuel, it was Regel. Bar is no Machloikis. Mavid, it was Machloikis. According to Shmuel, it was Shane. According to Shmuel, it was Shane. According to Rav, it was Adam. But everyone agreed that Hever is Eish. Hever is Eish. As in fact, we pointed out that the Mishnah, when it went ahead and explained that an Av is when it's written in the Torah, in order to be written to be an Avhad Mazik, it has to be written in the Torah. Rashi did not explain any pasuk. He didn't bring the pasuk for Bar. He didn't bring the pasuk for Shar, but he felt it necessary to bring the pasuk for Eish. Now, it could be because the word Hever, he wanted to explain, is Kisei Tzayesh. In other words, Pashit Pshat, Hever, what does Hever mean? So Rashi took the pasuk to tell you what Hever means. But my Rebbe Zatzal said a different Pshat. We're going to see today, we have Machlokas Beis Shammai, Reish Lakish Rabbi Yochanan. Like Rabbi Yochanan, Eisha is Mishum Chitzai, and Reish Lakish Eisha Mishum Emainai, and we'll define them in a second. My Rebbe Zatzal said that's why Rashi went out of his way to tell you, don't be mistaken that the Tolda of Eish is, that the pasuk for Eish is Chitzai, that the pasuk for Eish is Adam Amazik. Chitzai means like shooting an arrow. Don't for a second think that Eisha Mishum Emainai is like Shor or Bar. Whenever the lumdis is, whether it works out Mishum Chitzai, works out Emainai, Rashi therefore told you, no, the pasuk is Kiseitze Eish. That's the Av. That's the pasuk that makes it an Av. The lumdis we'll discuss today, but the pasuk that makes it an Av is Kiseitze Eish, and therefore to get that clarity, Rashi went out of his way and explained that pasuk rather than all the other ones. So that's my Rebbe's Zatzal's pshat. Now, if I would go over to somebody with a fire and ignite the person directly, I go ahead and ignite the person, right? Or I go ahead and shoot the person, right? Or I go ahead and stab the person. There's no difference. I'm a murderer. Adam, the Asik Adam. The means of doing the damage was different. It was a gun. It was a knife. It was a fire. When you take a fire and put it directly on the person, right? That's Adam. That's yourself. That is not. And if you put it on an object, that's Eish, Mishum Eish. That's not what we're discussing. What we're discussing is where the Eish goes out and does damage. We're discussing when the Eish goes out and does damage. Eish is unique. I light it over here. A wind comes. And what does the wind do? It blows it. It blows it. So where I lit it, it's not doing any damage. It's the wind blowing the fire that's causing the damage. That's what our discussion is over here. The lashon of Rabbeinu Peretz, the lashon of Tosis Rabbeinu Peretz. Here's his lashon, and it's such an obvious question. Eishem, we open up the Gemara. Eishem Mishum Chitzyav. Yesh letmur kitzas, says the Rabbeinu Peretz. There's a little kasha over here. Lama hutzich loy matam yosem mishay nizakin. Why, when it comes to Eish, do we have to say Mishum Mechitzai, Mishum Emainai? Eish, Mishum Eish, Bar Mishum Bar, Shar Mishum Shar. Why is there a machloikis by Eish? What's uniquely different about Eish that we have this machloikis? Guys, it's a seminal question. You hear? It's a question that goes to the guts of the matter over here. Why is there machloikis that about Eish? And for Rabbeinu Peretz, V'yesh Laimar, Lefidel Fa'amim She'ena Eish Mazik Kiyim Al Yidei Ruach. shemoili chasai, that it only does damage because the wind takes it. The ilule aruach, and if not for the wind, well, mazik, it wouldn't damage the cow. In other words, Eish itself is not a mazik. It needs something to go ahead and help it be mazik. Good. In Cain, ain't a ma'isa adam. So therefore, again, I show the clarity, guys. When you take an Eish and put it on a person, that's what they're discussing. That's ma'isa adam. What we're discussing is where you lit it, you have it, and the wind comes and blows it. So the wind's not my ma'isa. The wind's not my ma'isa. I didn't do anything over there. The Rabbi Yochanan mishum chitzyav. The Rabbi Yochanan says the reason why is the kiven shed liku b'makom sharuach mitzuya. Since I lit it in a place where a common wind is found, not an uncommon wind, a wind that you could expect. Today's gust is up to 3 miles an hour, 2 miles an hour. We're not speaking about a 40-mile-an-hour gust. We're speaking about a ruach mitzuya, something normal. Nimsa shepasheya by the kasai. He is pasheya by lighting it. Just like shooting an arrow, so just as if I shoot an arrow and it travels, in the arrow, I'm responsible because I put it in motion. Over here, by lighting the fire and not watching it correctly and allowing a common wind to come along and take it, that common wind to come along and take it is as if I put my power in there. That's Eisha Mishum Kitzah. That's Eisha Mishum Kitzah. And that's why it's different. This Rabbeinu Peretz, you can't move without it. Without this Rabbeinu Peretz, the sugya doesn't begin. With Rabbeinu Peretz, you have the beginning of a sugya. Says Reish Lakish, as we'll see in the Gemara, it's your chiyuv is because you weren't shomer. You didn't watch it. You didn't watch your shor. You didn't watch your bar. You didn't watch your shor. You didn't watch your bar. You didn't watch your eish. Mamono. Your chayiv, because what? It's mamen amazik. Your chayiv because why? Because your moment did damage. Therefore, we're going to see in Rashi, fellas, if you do damage with somebody else's moment, you won't be chayiv. With someone else's eish, you won't be chayiv. Toysus is niskasha on that. It's a difficult sugya. So with that hakdama, let's begin. Again, very geshmaka sugya, very deep sugya. We're going to conclude with a very famous Nemuka Yosef that I'll post it on the screen, and we'll do that at the end of this year. Says the Gemara. The Mishnah had said a kelev shenatal charara, a kelev that took a cookie, went ahead, ate the cookie, and ignited a haystack. And it burned out the haystack because embedded in the bottom of the cookie was a coal. And that coal caused the fire. So the Gemara wants to know what's going on over here. What's the chiyuv? So we said the chiyuv on the cookie is shein. The chiyuv on the godish is chatzi nezek. So to ascertain what the chiyuv on the godish is, we go ahead and we figure it out based upon this machlokes. Itmar. Rabbi Yochanan Omer, Eishoy, a person's fire, mishum chitzyav, is like he shot an arrow. So like we're learning, the chiyuv of eish, where a ruach mitzuya, something comes along and takes it to another place, right? Takes it out of your reshus and takes it to another place. It's like you went ahead and it's your koyach. So if I have a haystack and I light it, so the place where I lit is my eish, and then as it goes ahead and goes through the haystack, right? Then that's my koichay. That's I shot an arrow through the haystack. So the continuation of it is what is chitzyav.
It's a good sushtel. Not that he needs my support, Rabbeinu Peretz, because when you shoot an arrow, especially at a distance, the wind can potentially move it one place or the other, despite your aim.
Yeah, I think. But the point is, what is the something happens a distance away from me. It be the arrow shooting a person or an animal, or the fire doing a damage 10 blocks away. From point A to point B, right? Where's the chiyuv over there? That's koichay. I lit the fire is koichay. I lit the fire is adam amazik. But as it goes on, it's koichay. Just whatever. So what transpires from here to there, Rabbi Yochanan says, just like if you shoot an arrow, right? It's as if over here came from here. So too, the fire that burns over here is it came from here. And we're going to tzushtel it to you. That's really what it is. So I don't know about the wind in the arrow itself, because the wind is one type of power, and the bow that you drew and let go is another type of power. So I'm not sure we can mix the two together, Rabbi Abi. You understand? The point is that both are kocho, both are not the person themselves. Both are not the person themselves. We'll see there's a difference. We'll see we'll see a geschmacka difference when we go ahead and we do the Mukha Yosef. Now, Eishay Mishum Emaynai. Okay, let's see Rashi, guys. We'll do a lot of Rashis today. 2 lines down, Mishum Chitzyav. Chayavu Yakosef, when the Torah is mechayiv you, the Iu Ka'avid, Havi Kazar Chetz. The Torah says is if you did it, it's like you shot an arrow. So based upon Rabbeinu Peretz, guys, right? I lit a fire. It's in my rishus. I didn't watch it well. Came along a ruach, came along a cause, blew it out of my rishus, burned something else. It says if I went ahead and I did it, I myself did it. Good, because I didn't watch my. Says Reish Lakish Mishum Memaynai, says Rashi, Kishayro Bayrai. It's no different than any possession that you have. You own the shar, you own the bar, you own the eish. Because Sal Kedaitach, the Ikibeinaihu, Kigoin Shehidlik Bigacheles, Sheina Shaloi. What happens if you would light using an ember that doesn't belong to you? So Rabbi Yochanan Chayiv, the Chetzyahu, Rabbi Yochanan said Yechayiv, because why? Since I lacked Shmira on the Ruach, it says why did it? Reish Lakish Pata, the Lav Memainahu. And Reish Lakish says you Pata because it's not your money. It's not your money. So again, this is Rashi Shita. It's interesting. The Kasal Gedaitach, the Marsha says he doesn't know why. This is the Maskana as well. So I'm going to go ahead, guys. We're going to use Rashi throughout the Sugya, but I feel incumbent. I have to do the Taisus with you, okay? So the Pasha Nafkamina between Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan will be very obvious difference. The Gemara, tomorrow's daf, we're going to see my binayu. The Gemara is going to have ikibinayu. The ikibinayu would be if you like using somebody else's thing. Now, if I go ahead, fellas, and I take Lenny's charcoal and put it on somebody, I'm chayiv, not als eish. I'm chayiv because I'm adam amazik. I just use Lenny's. If, however, Lenny's coal, the wind blows it in my rishus, I'm not chayiv to watch that. That's what Rashi's saying. It's mimoina. It's not my money. I'm not chayiv on someone else's eish. Just like I'm not chayiv on someone else's shar. Lenny's chayiv to watch his ember. I'm not. That's what Rashi says. Says Taisvis. Eishem mishum mimoinoi. Kloimar. Chiyav mimoinoi. The chiyav is not adam amazik. The chiyav is mamen amazik. Guys, there's a parsha of Maka behem yishal mena. There's a parsha of adam the azik, an object. There's a parsha of Niskei Mammon. That's what we're speaking about. Arba Avos Nezikin is speaking about Niskei Mammon, where your mammon does damage. Says Taisvis, it doesn't mean you have to have ownership over the Eish in order to be Chayiv. When Reish Lakish says Eish Mishum Mamoinoi means Chayiv Mamoinoi. You're Chayiv as if it's your money. You're Chayiv like Niskei Mammon rather than Niskei Adam. V'loi sheyeh Eish Shaloi, says Taisvis, you don't have to have the Eish that's yours. The afilu higlik be'Eish Shalacher Chayiv. If they had leika, you take the kama of your friend in front of his umata beruach mitsuya. So I go like this, guys. I have this. I put this. A ruach comes along and it burns it. I'm chayiv. It's not my fire. So you see, you don't have to go ahead and be your money. But the chiv, if the chiv on me is not like other mazik, the chiv is like it's my mom and the damage. And also he brings another case, the gabe gates shiyatza mitachas apatish, a spark that comes out from underneath an anvil. When you go ahead and strike the anvil, and a spark comes out and ignites something. Afagav the mistama mafkale, even though stama he's mafka. So what do you see? That you chayiv, it's not your money. So on that. So the kasha is, so how does Rashi learn Pshatim with these Gemaras, right, guys? That's the kasha. So regarding the second point about Hefker, it's not such a kasha. The Shita Mukubetzes answers to Rashi that your mafki your bar, you're still chayiv. So your mafki your reish, you're still chayiv. In other words, being mafker takes it out of your bilus Indian ownership, but not out of that the Indian that you're chayiv, the chayiv moment. So that's not such a kasha. Okay, so be aware there is a machlokes Rashi and Taisus. We will learn Rashi through the sugya. It works out easier. So nafkamina between Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan was if you did damage using someone else's money. But again, remember, we're speaking about Eish that is brought about to do damage where you have the koyach hacham uruv by. This is what Rabbi, remember I told you I'm going to when we get into the sugya that you don't jump in because until you do this Gemara, there's nothing to talk about. You didn't know anything. You learned the velt this morning. You already learned the velt. The difference between taking the Eish and putting it on the person and going ahead and we're not watching an Eish and having it do damage miles away. Of course, the ruach went ahead and well, what was that? Who was the cow in Chicago that or San Francisco? You know what I'm talking about? There was a fire cow. Nelly, what?
I think that was San Francisco. Wasn't that Mrs. O'Leary's cow?
That's San Francisco, right? Mrs. O'Leary's cow, correct? No?
Pretty sure it's Chicago. But
yeah, whatever. We need Yehuda. He's the Jeopardy champion.
I'm sure Lenny's going to be looking at Google right now and figuring it out for us. He's already on it.
It was Chicago.
I know. It was Chicago? I thought it was Chicago also. You're thinking about Tony Bennett leaving your house in San Francisco. That's what you were thinking about. Okay, very good. Anyway, so this is the sugya, guys. This is the opening line of the sugya. It's only 15 minutes in that it took us to two lines of Gemara, but that's the bottom line. I think it's a good hagdara, right? We understand the difference between the eish itself when you do it versus why it's a chiddush that an eish is nothing, because the only way it can do damage was that koyach achar, that ruach mitzuya mu'urav boy. Machmish that koyach achar, we have a machloikis, says Rabbi Yochanan, the chiv is adam amazik, and says Lakish, the chiv is mammon amazik. And now we go through the sugya, we're going to bring rayas to Rabbi Yochanan and kachas on Reish Lakish. Good?
What do you chayiv? What do you chayiv? What the nezek shalom chatzid for each one? Which one is nezek shalom? The first one?
Eish would be
nezek shalom.
Eish would be nezek shalom. Eish is nezek shalom.
All right. The other one's chatzid nezek. Mimono.
No. Mimono. We're Mimono also.
Also nezek shalom. Okay. It's just
the only time you find chatzid nezek is one or two places. And Karen.
Yeah.
Karen, the first three times, and Stroiris. That's the only time you find Chatzin Nesek. Right. So again, when you see in the Gemara Chatzin Nesek, you have to go ahead and work it in. Now, we're going to have to work it in, Hesh. We're going to have to work it in because why did the Mishnah say, guys, let's go back to the Mishnah. Kel Shnat al Charara, for Achal Charara, the Hiddiges Agadish, Al HaCharara Mishalem Nesek Shalem, the Al Agadish Mishalem Chatzin Nesek. So why are you paying Chatzin Nesek on the Gadish, right? That's going to be the... Okay, anyway. Says the Gemara. Reish Lakish, who says, Memoinai, my time alay on the Rabbi Yochanan, about 8 lines down. What's the reason we don't say like Rabbi Yochanan? Amalach, Chitzav mekoichai ka'azle. Chitzav comes from his koyach. Hi, but Eish, loy mekoichai ka'azle. It doesn't come from his koyach. Says Rashi, Hi lav mekoyach, the Eish, 4 lines down. Me'aleho heleches. It goes by itself. V'doylekes l'meirachaik. Fellas, when you take an arrow and you pull it, depending how far back you go on the drawstring, that's how far the arrow will go. Correct? In other words, the drawstring goes ahead and ascertains the koyach of that you're going in, putting into the arrow. You throw a football, like you throw it easily, you throw it, depending on how much you put in. So a chetz is similar to throwing a football. Now, how much koyach you put in is in the arrow. By an eish, the fire comes. Where's your koyach over there? It goes by itself. The ruach's bringing it, but you're not putting koyachas into this. Says Reish Lakish, therefore it's not similar to chitzav. Therefore, it's not similar to chitzav at all. Because by a chetz, you have the power of the person in the object itself. Over here, now the only commonality it has, it's doing damage from far away. Like chetz go far away, and this you started over here and you end up over here. But the way you got there was different. By koichai, by chitzav, you got it there. Over here, it went by itself. It's a beautiful chilik, like Reish Lakish. Beautiful chilik, in like like Rabbi was thinking, he was thinking mechanically, how did it work? So mechanically, you have a difference over there. By the Eish, mechanically, basically, it's the wind that blew it, but you didn't do anything. You didn't watch it, but you didn't put koyach into. No, my lack of shmira does not decide how much it's going to go. It's the wind that decides. By chaitz, my action decides how far it's going to go. I think that's the clearest hezbollah. I think that's the clearest hezbollah. Okay. What about Rabbi Yochanan? So for Rabbi Yochanan, my timer loy oma kreish lakish. Why doesn't Rabbi Yochanan hold like Reish Lakish? Amalcha memayna isbei mamasha. Mammon has tangibility to it. Ha less bei mamasha. This has no tangibility to it. In other words, by memayna have a shar, right? A shar has tangibility to it. I have a bar. Somebody going to tell me? A bar has no tangibility, right? You're going to say a bar, right? Now the samachloikis fellas. Why you chayav a bar? Are you chayav mishum chavata, where you bang? So certainly it has tangibility. Or you chayav from the noxious odor that you go ahead and release upon digging the bar. So like that, the noxious odor doesn't have mamasha stick, but the action of doing it is mamashas. It's the walls of the bar that you dug that created. That's the way Taisus explains the difference between that and ish. So there's an action over here that creates the noxious odor, or yichai for the chavata for the banging, and that has mamashas. So says Rabbi Yochanan, it's not a similar thing. Eish is, I don't know about you. I've always been fascinated by fire. I just think it's like good. It's a chemical reaction. To me, it's like a riot that Hashem's in the world. All of a sudden, you take a match, you put it in if there's something there, it's a fascinating thing. Fire to me is a fascinating thing. It's nothing, but it's something. It's nothing, but it's something. Right? Anyway, so okay. Anyway, I know Ari and Benji have very guilty looks on their face, like very guilty. Anyway, so that's the machlokes. Reish Lakish says that the koyach doesn't come from his koyach, because it's different, and Rabbi Yochanan says it doesn't have mamasha. Tanan, hakelev shenat charara, a kelev that takes a cookie. Okay, now he's going to pay nezek shalem on the cookie, chatzi nezek on the godish, on the haystack. Bishleim l'madi amar eishem mishim chitzyav. Very good according to man the eishem mishim chitzyav. Chitziv the kelev who. In other words, how did the haystack burn? The kelev put it down, and the koyach of the kelev integrates his point A, point B on the haystack, right? That's the koyach of the kelev. Just so, in other words, that's the koyach of the kelev. Why do you pay for koyach of your animal? Hesh. Why do you pay for koyach of your animal? That's tzroiris, guys. What's tzroiris? Tzroiris is koyach, right? So just as you kick the stone, it does damage, you put down the fire and it burnt it, it's kocho. That would explain Nezek Shalem. In other words, that would explain Nezek Shalem. Good. That's not in the Chatzi Nezek. That would explain Chatzi Nezek. So Bishlema, according to Rabbi Yochanan, that says that you're paying Nezek Shalem for that everyone on the Chabara, we understand the shame. Right. Elamandi Yama Eshim Shem Memainoi. Hi Eish Lav Memainoi the Bal Kelevu. Who is the owner of the Eish? It's the Bal Charora. Who is the owner of the Eish? It's the Bal Charora, right? So therefore, why are you paying for the haystack? Again, this fits in very nicely with Rashi, correct? It says Rashi, Yechayiv Eishoi Memainoi. This is Yanamamin. You had to watch it that you had to watch that your dog didn't eat the biscuit, because it's your dog and it's someone else's biscuit. But the ember, the ember connected to the biscuit belongs to the Bala biscuit, belongs to the Bala Charara. So why are you chayiv on the haystack? Amalach Reish Lakish, Hachamayaskinon, Da'adaye. You know why you chayiv? Because he threw it. It's troiris. He threw it. You know where you chayiv chatzi nezek? Only on the place it landed. You put on the rest of the haystack. The place it landed, al sroiris, v'al gadish kulei pata. But the rest of the gadish, you'd be pata because it's not the mammon of the bal of the dog. Guys, outside. Again, this is built upon knowledge of previous Gemaras. Says Reish Lakish, Eishem Shem Emaynai. We got a problem. This haystack burnt down, right, from someone else's Eish. Why am I chayiv? Says Reish Lakish, you're right, you're not chayiv. When the Mishnah said Yechayev Amakam Gacheles, is not because of Eish, it's the tzroiris. What happened over here? You ate the cookie, and as you ate the cookie, the dog flung the cookie, it flung the ember onto the. So where it lands is similar to where the pebble hits, wherever the pebble hits. But anything beyond that is koichai, and you're not chayiv for that. The koich is where it landed. Anything beyond that already is not your mammon. It's not your mammon. Anything beyond that, where it landed. So it comes out like this. Like Reish Lakish, when the Mishnah said, our Mishnah, I'm learning Pshat in our Mishnah based upon this machlokes, no problem. I understand a dog eating a biscuit, I'm chayiv al nesek shalim. Why chatzi nesek on the gadish? Not the whole gadish, only the place it landed. The rest of the gadish, it's not, you can't be mechayiv me al eish. Why? Because it's not my money. Why could you mechayiv me if it's soiris, koichai? The koichai stopped as soon as it got to that point. When it hit that point, that's Reish Lakish. Continues the Gemara. How would Rabbi Yochanan learn Pshat then? How would Rabbi Yochanan learn Pshat? Rabbi Yochanan, the Anche Anuche, it put it down. Now, it put it down and it spread through what? The haystack. Guys, since he put it down, what would you be chayiv on the place he put it down? Nezek Sholing, right? That's Nezek Sholing. That's taking the fire and putting it on the person, right? That's using the fire. What happens now that it extends through the haystack? That's koichai. What do we call that? Tzroiris, chatzi nezek. Beautiful. It comes very meduyik ma'oid. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan, the Amcha Nuche, put it down. Ala charara, va'al mokam gacheles, b'shalim nezek shalim. On the charara, al shein, mokam gacheles al eish. Beautiful. Good. So that's Shana Mishnah. One more time. Both side Reish Lakish and side Rabbi Yochanan go hold. On the Charara you pay Nezek Shalem. Why? Shane. On the Gadish, says Rabbi Yochanan, you chayev Nezek Shalem on the place you put it down, and the rest of the Gadish Chatzi Nezek. Says Reish Lakish, you chayiv chatzi nezek on the place where you threw it down, because it's soiris, and put on the rest of the haystack. Hashma. This Mishnah is at the end of Perek HaKoinis, the 6th Perek. It is the only Mishnah in Shas that mentions the word Chanukah. It's the only Mishnah in Shas that mentions the word Chanukah. There's a very famous question: why was there not a Masechta written on Chanukah? We have a Masechta written on Purim called Megillah. Why there was a Masechta written on Chanukah? There's a very, very shveret teretz they give that the Chashmonoim, they usurped the Malchus. The kingdom was supposed to be in the Shevet of Yehuda. The Chashmonoim, Matisyo and his sons, they were Kahanim. They took over the Malchus, and as a result, the Ramban and Pashas Vayechi says that even though they were tremendous tzaddikim, nonetheless, they all died and did not last, right? Rebbe was a descendant of Yehuda, of David HaMelech. So Rebbe did not go ahead and put it down for that reason. That's what they say. But that's very, very, anyway, that's neither here nor there. It's just Rabbi Avi to have a connection between Inyan and Yoma. So now, Tashma, Gomel Toyin Pishtin. You have a camel, and you overloaded the camel with flax, very flammable flax. And the camel goes by, it's walking along and goes through Shusarabim. And since it's overloaded and the camel goes into the shop, there's a store there. Now remember, they didn't have electricity, so fire was their means of illumination. And lo and behold, the flax caught fire within the store. Vidolku b'neiroi shel chenvani. Now, who owns the fire? The storekeeper. Ignites the flax of the owner of the horse of the pishtana, the gummel. The hidlikas abira, it burns down the whole kit and caboodle. Not only the store, it burns down the whole mansion. Bala gummel chayev. The bala gummel is his chayev. He overloaded it. He allowed his camel to go into the store. It got lit up. He's chayev. If the chenvani, however, left the light outside, he left it outside, not inside, and now it's passing by, then chenvani chayev. Then the chenvani would be chayev. Okay, so in that nafkamina, whether the gummel entered the rishus of the chenvani or the gummel did not. If it entered the rishus of the chenvani, the bala gummel is chayev. If it did not, then the chenvani is chayev for lighting up this bira, or lighting up this house. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, b'ner Chanukah. It was ner Chanukah pata. Why? Because it's Isaac b'mitzvah pursuing Nisa outside. The chenvani is allowed to light outside, so therefore he was allowed to be there. He wasn't pasheh by keeping it outside, and therefore pata. Guys, the only mention of in Mishnayos of Chanukah is in that line. We have a whole Gemara on Chanukah, right, in Masechta Shabbos, but it doesn't mention in the Mishnah there. It does not mention in the Mishnah there at all.
Hey, the first time we did it was on Hanukkah.
Yeah, the first time we fell out on Chanukah?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Was that the year that Avodah Zarah? No, that was the next year. We had one year when Avodah Zarah fell out on December 24th. I thought that was really. Listen, Hashem has a sense of humor, you know. It says, "Bishleim Madiyema Eishem Mishim Chitzyav Chitziv the Gamelhu." Now, what happened, guys? Obviously, the pishtin went and it lit up the whole bira. It's Chitziv the Gamel. When it lit the bira, when the Gamel went inside the store, why is he chayev? The Baal Gamel is not his fire; it's the Chenvani's chayev. So since it's Chenvani's fire, he should be chayev, or not completely. It's speaking where the camel was mesachsech kol abira kula. The best way I can explain it, guys, look at me. We spoke out initially in the share. If you have the fire, if you go ahead and put the fire, that's not our discussion, right? Our discussion is where it extends. Here, you know what happened? The camel just kept on rubbing along the whole house. The camel, the fire was lit on the camel, and it was walking along and just going ahead. And it wasn't. It's not asugya. Asugya is where it spreads as a result, but not the camels doing it. Over here, the camel's doing the whole thing. The camels, he is the Ruach Mitsuya, but that's like the owner owns the camel. It's like his mammon. He's got it right there. He's going to watch his. It's like his gummel is eating up everything. He's got to watch it. Here he has his gummel with a fire on his back, and he's walking along. Of course, you have to watch it. It's like that's the way it's says. If it's speaking where the camel's walking along the whole way, aim is safer. Why should he be chayev alone? So, if you're telling me the camel has the fire on him and he's a walking mazik, so who cares how the fire, whether it's his fire, not fire? You're telling me it's like a camel mazik, right? It's like a regel. It's like, but why is the chenvani? Rashi, look at this the bottom twice quickly. Why is he chayev everything with burning down the house? Gam bala gamel is chayev. He should also be chayev imay with him. In other words, the chenvani is paisheya for leaving his fire outside. The bala gamel is guilty of allowing his camel to walk around and ignite everything. In other words, the chiyuv over here is a lack of shmira, a lack of watching your mazik. So memela affect the Gemara beautifully. Good, the chenvani says chayiv. When it says chayiv in the Mishnah, it means only the chenvani. If you are zetzing in the Mishnah, saying the Mishnah is speaking in order to avoid Reish Lakish, to avoid the problem of a fire burning down that's not yours because it doesn't belong to you, the Baal Gamel, and you're saying it's speaking, well, he's walking around attached to him and lighting it. So why would So why would the Baal Chenvani, if you left it outside, be chayiv because he lacked shmira by putting it outside? The Baal Gamel also lacked shmira by allowing his camel to walk around and blow down the bira. It's a Gavaldic Akasha. And for the Gemara, B'Shamda, the camel stood still. And there was so much flax on the camel that it ignited the whole house. So it's sichsacha while it's standing still. Good? So, in other words, watch your kasha. You should have watched it. That you shouldn't walk around. It's standing still. Fed the Gemara. If the camel's standing still, the owner should have done everything in his power to get that camel out of there. You're allowing a camel with burning flax on its back to stay inside a building. Why is the Baal Chenvani chayav alone? Obviously, you're more paisheya. In other words, initially we thought you were only a shtickle paisheya, a shtickle negligent by not getting it out. Why? Because you allowed it to walk around. Now, by allowing it to stay there, you're even more paisheya. So it's a starka kasha. Why is the Chenvani alone chayav? Certainly, the Baal Gamel should be mishtatev, should partner in the payment to the Baladira, the Balabira, right? Who burnt down. And for the Gemara, Chenvani part the Baal Gamel chayiv. Rav Huna Parmanoyach Mishmei the Rav Ika Hachamayaskinan Kigan Shamda Lahatal Memeha. You ain't moving that camel. That camel is doing what camels do, and he's urinating. He's built matl mayim, so you could get him out. So he's standing still, overloaded, burning up everything. Why is the Chenvani chayiv? It's because what's the Baal Gamel to do? Had you not left your fire outside, nothing would have happened. It's your peshia of allowing him to stay outside. He's in there. It's not your money. It's not your money. It's speaking mishisichsech, meaning that it's not speaking in the case of Mamoinai. The case of Mamoinai is where there's a ruach mitsuya. Over here, we're not speaking of ruach mitsuya. Over here, guys, we're speaking about my first analogy, where you take the fire and put it directly on the object. So it's not subject to the machlokes. Okay, now, so good. It's not subject to the machlokes. But now, why is the Baal Gamel? Why is the Baal Chenvani chayav alone? The Baal Gamel's chayav. He's allowing his camel to stay there. Says the Gemara, he had no choice. This camel is doing what camels do. Therefore, he had no choice, and therefore the Baal Chenvani is chayav. Bottom line is, Reish Lakish held serve. Since it's speaking sichsacha, where it's igniting directly, it's not subject to this machlokes over there. Amoida that eish is chayav. When do I have my machlokes? Is where it does damage from a distance away. Reisha Baal Gamel chayiv on the base. Reisha the Baal Gamel chayiv loy boil avshuye betina. The Reisha where the fire was inside the store, the Baal Gamel's chayiv because had he not overloaded it, it wouldn't have got burnt up from the stuff in the store. Sefer Chenvani chayiv loy boil anuche neirum mavroy. You shouldn't have left his nair outside. Guys, I'll be good. It's very geschmack. It's a big. Once you get the side down, it flows beautifully in the Gemara. Once you got the side. The opening of Rabbeinu Peretz and the explanation of the Adam using the Eish as like a fire, like a knife or a gun is much different. That's not the machlokes here. Machlokes here where it does a distance away. Again, Rabbeinu Peretz is Gavaldik.
So the Gemara understood the danger of smoking camels long before the Surgeon General.
I thought Meir Amsel wasn't on today.
Current from Air Amsel.
No, Meir Amsel couldn't have been so creative. That was Joe Cool with the Joe. Anyway, Tashma. Hamadikes a Gadish. You go ahead, you light a Gadish. V'hoya gidi kafisloi. And there was a gidi, there was a goat that was tied up next to the Gadish. The Eved Samechloi, and you had an Eved that was next to the Gadish. The Nisraf Imai. So now the Gadish burns down, the Gedi burns down, and the Eved burns down. Okay? Chayev, then you Chayev. What are you Chayev for? What are you Chayev for? Says Rashi. The Nisraf Imai Chayev, Agadiv Agadish. You're not Chayev for the Eved, you're Chayev for the goat that was tied, and the Gadish that was stationary. If you say Ein Loi Din Misa, because you're not Chayiv Misa B'Shvila Eved. Shahayala Levroyach, the Eved who got burned should have ran away. However, back in the Gemara, Eved Kafis Loi, if the Eved is tied up, Ugadi Samach Loi, and the Gedi is next to him, V'Nisraf Imoi, and they all get burned, Pata. You Pata on the Gedi, and you Pata on the haystack. Why? Because since you Chayiv Misa on the Eved, we say, Kam lei b'derabba minei. Right? Remember Sech Ksubis, the third parak, Elon Iris, right? The sugya of the famous sugya of Kam lei b'derabba minei. If at one moment time there's two chiyuvim, a chiyav misa and a chiyav mammon, right? Pashit. So here you have a chiyav misa for killing the eved. You have a chiyav mammon for burning a haystack and a goat, right? In this case, what? You're going to be pater on the monetary tashlumin because of what? Because of the goat, because of the eved. Now, what does this do? Our sugya. I can view my lighting the fire and it's spreading as Adam Amazik. So it's like I killed the Eved. Am I potter? Why am I potter on the Gedi and the haystack? Ilu kotel ture avda hachanami d'loi mechayva. Guys, my shor kills a person. Am I chayiv? Yeah. Chayiv koifer? Yeah. Am I chayiv misa? No. Bidei shemayim maybe, but not bidei adam, right? I'm not chayiv. You're telling me eishnim mishum emaynoi. You're telling me in this case there's a chayiv misa. Says Reish Lakish, says Rabbi Yochanan, when you go ahead and allow a fire to go ahead from one point to the next, it's like you're zayrik chetz. If I allow a fire in a haystack to kill an eved, it's like I shot an arrow into the eved. The melam chayiv misa. I'm pater on tashlumim. Like Reish Lakish, the chiyuv is because you didn't watch the same way you didn't watch your shor, the same way you didn't watch your bar, you didn't watch your eish. If my mammon kills somebody, I'm not mechuyev. So therefore, why am I chayiv misa? I should have to pay for the gedi and the haystack. Kasha Reish Lakish. Gavaldiga kasha. Alom the shakasha. Alom the shakasha. Let's do Rashi here, guys. Eved v'kafes loy gedi samech loy v'nisru imay pata. Agadi v'agadish. The kam lei b'derab minei. Shel horiga eved nerag. If you kill an eved, you get killed. Dichsiv nakem yinakem. V'haydin nakem gedi. Why do you learn gedi? Just learn the case of gadish. What, guys? Why did I need a gedi there at all? If you just needed a monetary tashlumin, you had it. You had the gadish. In other words, you need a possible misa and a possible tashlumin, correct? So I have a possible misa on the eved. I have the possible tashlumin on the gadish. Why did I have to throw in a gedi? Why did I throw in gedi? Because we're going to zet sign that there's two separate chiyuvim over here. The gedi belong to one person and the eved another person. The begadish ve'eved lekaluk mehachi, because you can't by gadish ve'eked you can't. The most of the shaduri yinshi avdei lishma gadishay. I did not get eved. Okay, fight. Okay, fight. Says the Gemara fight. Bishleim madi amem mishum chitza mishum hachi patel madi amem mishum mayna my pata ilu kataturia avda hachanami lemechayev amalach Reb Shimon ben Lakish hachamayaskinon kishehitzis begufay shaleved. The guys, this is the way you would answer it, right? What did he do? It's not shayach to Eishim Shemamoinai. He took the fire, and what did he do with it? He stabbed the eved. He shot the eved. It's the hakdama to the shia, guys. What did he do? He took the fire and put it directly on the eved, right? So Mamela, this is not my machloikis. The machloikis is when it does damage, not when he does it directly. It's a ruach mitzuyin doing damage farther away, right? It's mamish. The come labor the rab minei. So what's the chiddush? It's speaking about the gedi belong to one person and the eved belong to another person. Says Rashi, in other words, guys, look at me. You're telling me a chiddush and come labor the rab minei. Usually, the kamlei is in the same person. So the eved and the haystack are owned by the same guy. So that's a chiddush that you don't pay for the gadish. I'm telling you a bigger chiddush. The gedi belongs to another guy. So the Baal Gedi could say to him, listen, you're dead for killing this guy. Why should I lose money, right? Your B'chi of Misa has nothing to do with the Tashluma to me. It has to do with the Tashluma to the haystack. Kamash Malon, that what? Even then we say Kamle. Good, that's the Chiddush. And that's what Rashi meant before, why you had to tell me Gedi, you had to create another Tashluma situation of Gedi rather than just the haystack. Bottom line is, Reish Lakish shall serve. So again, going through what we saw so far, Kelev Shnot al-Charara, the case was, why are you paying Chatzi Nezek? The answer is, you're only paying Chatzi Nezek on the Tzroiris, on the place where you flung it down. Why buy the Gomel? Why buy the Gomel? Why is the Bala Gomel Chayiv? It's not his fire. The answer is, it's really the same thing. The exact same place he was on, right? The exact same place. He was standing there with this pishtin, was burning down everything. It was the right. So therefore, it's the case of direct. It's the direct thing. The same thing over here. Why are you chayiv on the Evid? You should be chayiv, right? No, it's you went ahead. You took it. You put it directly on. Where you put it directly on, Reish Lakish's maida, it doesn't have to be a mammon. Reish Lakish's maida doesn't have to be a mammon. Kishmak. One more case. Tashma. Hashalech espiro. We had this earlier in the Masechta. Hashalech espiro biyad cheresh shoyte v'katan. Pata b'din yadam v'chayv b'din shemayim. Right. We had this on Daf test. Hechshati mixes nisklei. So shar v'bar. If you give a shar or bar to a cheresh shoyte v'katan, you are chayiv. If you give an eish, you pater. So you might remember that we said that a shar it'll get loose. A bar will fall in, but an eish it'll go out. Eventually, it goes out. Right. It goes out. Anyway. Bishlein mandi amesh chitzav the chereshu. Bishlein mandi amar, right? That it's a chitzav the cheresh. Bishlein mandi amar that eshoy is mishum chitzav. The reason you put over here is because it's the chitza of the cheresh. Since it's the cheresh, the one doing the damage, what you put up. El manda amar eshoy mishum maynoi, right? Why is he put midinei adam? It says, why you put in Adam? You gave, right? You gave a fire, right? You gave your mammon to a mazik, and ilu masar shoyre lecheresh shayte v'katan hachanami lemechayev perish. We said, guys, choymim b'shar nebe'esh and daf yud. What's the choymim that shar has over eish? Look at Rashi, guys. If you give a shar or a bar to an eish, to a cheresh, yechayev, right? Yechayev. If you give it to him, yechayev. So now you're giving him an eish. Why are you pata? Why are you pata? Why are you pata? Bishlema, if you tell me eish mishum chitzav, I could tell you chitz of the cheresh. So I'm pata because it's not my chitz, it's the chitz of the cheresh. But like you that it's mammon, we see that what? That you give a cheresh over, a shar or a bar over yechayev. So why should you be chayev for eish? Says the Gemara, that's not a problem. I'll tell you, there's a difference in eish and a difference in shar and bar. Elamandi Amar, eish mishum memaynoi, ilu masa shar l'cheresh shayte v'katan hachanami lemechayev. So the guy said, no, that's not a problem. I got to tear it. So you want to know the difference between what? Eish and Shar and Bar? We did not learn. We did not learn that what? That you pater el kashemasaloi kacheles v'liba. You gave him an ember. It wasn't ready to do damage. He went ahead and he fanned the flames. Right? Avamasaloi shall heves. But in fact, if you would have given over shall heves, chayev yiriv michayev b'dinei adam. My timer, Bari Hazeka, right? It's clear that what it was going to do damage. So just like if you gave over Shar, you'd be chayiv. If you gave over Nesh, you'd be chayiv. Rabbi Yochanan Namar, he says, Afilu shall have his pater. He says, even if you give over a lit flame, you pater, right? Because Rabbi Yochanan holds safs of the cheresh. He holds the hanging out of the cheresh caused it. Kagarim caused the damage. So therefore, it's the shalhevis that he's taken that caused the damage, right? The muscle gabs of a silta. You know when you be chayiv, if you gave the cheresh the flame, and you gave him fuel for the flame, you gave him chips and different things that could ignite, then in that case you're going to be what? You're going to be chayiv. So therefore, Reish Lakish is self-serve. So we have machloikis, Reish Lakish, Rabbi Yochanan, Eishim Shum Moinei, Eishim Shum Chitza. We'll finish the sugya Be'ez Hashem tomorrow night. It goes down Chaf Gimel Amid Aleph, goes a little bit down. But I thought it very appropriate to share with you a very well-known, famous in yeshiva, in the worlds of the yeshiva, a very famous Nemuka Yosef. Nemuka Yosef was the Gedoli Rishonim. He's found in the back of the Masechta on the Rif. And listen what this is like Rabbi Yechon. Listen to this kasha. Eishim Mishum Chitzav. Ki'ilu biyadav heviru kidamaran. It's like he lit. In other words, even though it's going to take place from here to here, by the time I get to here, it's like I lit it, right? So I lit it over here a mile away. When it does damage a while later, it's like I mamish shot like I did it. Be kashalacha im kain heichi sharinon im chashecha lahadlik esaneros. How erev Shabbos are you permitted to light Shabbos candles? The lighting of the candle is going to go, and it's going to be completed on Shabbos. You're going to go ahead. Remember, guys, they didn't have electricity in those days. They used to have torches. You're going to go ahead, light a torch, and it's going to continue going and go out on Shabbos. It's like he lit a fire on Shabbos. The kol shkein hu, the ilu hacha loy niskavin lahave godish al chaverei klal. V'hacha ikuk chaminaslei he shetadlik. In other words, this is even more of a reason. Madach guys, he holds eishim shemchitza where you didn't want to light down the haystack, right? The kol shkein where you wanted to light the fire. There's more of a svara that it should be chetzia. When you light the fire, it's more like what you went ahead, what, and drew the arrow. It's mamish, you did it. Fregdin Muki Yosef, guys, how in the world can you light a Shabbos? As it goes on Shabbos, it's like you're constantly lighting it. You're constantly lighting it, and you're lighting on Shabbos. If Eishem Mishum Chitzav, the koyach of the Eish is you. So when you light it, so the chayr, it's going on all the time. Nonetheless, we learn in Masechta Shabbos. You can lower the carbon Pesach into an oven, im chashecha with nightfall, umachzik in esa'ar, the meduras space market. So you can cook on Shabbos, and we don't say that the fire that you started is like you're lighting it on Shabbos. In addition, in the Beis Hamikdash, they would go ahead and light a medura, the Beis Hamoikid. That was the place where the Kahanim stayed to be warm. You can go ahead and light it over there. But that's his kasha. So, guys, frag the Nemuka Yosef. If you're telling me Eishim Mishum Chitzav that when you go ahead and light a fire and the fire spreads and it keeps on going, right? That it's licked in there is the koyach adam. How could you ever have a fire lit for Shabbos? Very, very good kasha. His teretz is beautiful. Let's see his teretz. Kina'ayin b'milsa shapir, when you look into the matter well, like kashalon, it's not shver at all. Shari chiyuvoy mishum chitzyav kizayr chetz. What does it mean that the chiyuv of chitzyav is like shooting an arrow? Shebishosh sheyotza hachetz mitachas yaday. As soon as you drew the bow and it left your hand, ba'oisei shah nasa hakol. Everything was done then. There's nothing more that you could do. There's nothing happens beyond that point. When you went ahead and drew the string, whatever koyach you had in the arrow was in the arrow already at that point. And we don't view as the arrow is flying through the air as if you're constantly putting strength in it, or else it will keep on going. The power of the arrow was limited to what you did initially, and that was it. And we don't view along the way as you're going through every single step, oh, here's Adam, here's Adam, here's Adam. And we don't consider it an action from here on in after it leaves your bow. If you would consider it that way, you can go ahead and pata him. In other words, I shoot the arrow, and I'm there the whole time. I really changed my mind. I really changed. You can't change your mind. So I'm an honest. I want to listen. I shot the arrow, but right now it's doing something I don't want it to do. I don't want it to do, and I want to be pata. I want to be pata, but you can't. You can't. It's too late. V'achanami ilu meis koydem shehispik lahadlik hagadish. Let's say that he would have died. The guy would have died before the ending of the Gadish being burnt. Vadai mishtalem nezek me'achrayis nechasim diday. They're going to pay the nezek from what? From his nechasim. To kari kan kiseitze yesh shalom mishalem. V'amay mechayev hari meis hakim mechayev. He's dead. In other words, if you can consider him part of the process from the beginning to the end, so he's dead at the time. Ellen must be. We don't consider the end of the process. All we consider is the beginning of the process. All we consider him as what the initial power that he put in. That's what we consider. Ella lav shmamina. What do you have to ascertain? The lav kimanda adlik hashda biyadayim. We don't view it every single second as if he's lighting it. Chashvin alei. Ella kimanda adlik meikora mishas pshia chashvin alei. That's the key line. One more time, guys. Ella vadai ella lav shmamina. The lav kimanda adlik hashda biyadayim. We don't view it as if what he's right now lighting it, guys. On Shabbos, he's lighting every single second. We don't view it that way. How do we view it? El kimanda adlik meikara mishas pshia. Oh, when you didn't watch it from a ruach mitsuya, at that point when it began to spread, right then and there, it's like you drew your bow and let go. But your koyach ended right there. V'chein adin le'inyan Shabbos. The askel mi erev Shabbos. When it began, eresh askel ukimanda agmarei biyadayim bahu idna the less bay is the chashiv. Says Luka Yosef, don't be mistaking and think the following. Don't be mistaking into buying into if Esha Misham Chitzyav, what it means is I'm constantly doing an action. In other words, I initiated the action and it continues 1, 2, doing, because then you have a kasha. How could you light before Shabbos if I'm doing on Shabbos? You don't view it that way. How do you view it? View it beautifully. When you shot the chetz, the arrow, as it's flying through the air, right? It's not that you're doing something now. There's not, you guys, you don't make it more powerful now. You can't do anything after it leaves it. Why? All you have is your initial power that you put in. I'm chayiv for that initial power. I'm chayiv for that. When I'm paisheya by not watching my fire, I'm chayiv for that initial pshia. But once that's done, the power that goes in has nothing to do with me. The mele by Shabbos, if I light a Shabbos candle before Shabbos, the initial power is there. That it continues on has nothing to do with it. It's finished. That's the difference between the two. That's the difference between the two. Beautiful difference. Okay, thank you for listening. It's a very little longer share than usual, but Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Good way to spend Erev Shabbos morning learning some Torah.